Hi. As a small business owner, managing your bookkeeping is tough, right? It's for many of you, it's the last thing you have on your list of things to do on a very long day. And when you do that, it's easy to make mistakes. And then even finding your receipts or your bills is even a challenge at times too. Is it in your email? Is it on your desk? Is it in a file drawer? Maybe it's even in the trash. For those of you who are thinking, what if? This video is for you. What if you had a process to automate your day-to-day bookkeeping and your workflow? What if you could shave 30 minutes or more off your day? Could you put that time to better use? I think you could. My name is Chuck Underwood. I'm the founder of Eccentric Solutions, and we're an accounting firm whose sole purpose is built on helping small and mid-sized businesses succeed, and I think we can help you. Today, I want to share with you one example of how you can automate your bookkeeping and your workflow. The example we'll go through today uses RPA, which is robotic process automation, and AI, which is artificial intelligence, which we've all been hearing a whole lot about since the beginning of 2023. And we're going to incorporate those using a couple of no-code, low-code tools. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking an email with a bill and converting that into a transaction in QuickBooks Online. So I hope you stay with us. Let's get to it. Okay, now here's our example. We are going to take a typical bill that you receive via email, typically in the form of a PDF document, and we're going to convert this into an expense or a bill, depending on the situation. In this case, it's going to be an expense into QuickBooks Online, and we're going to automate this process. All right, so the first thing we need to do is we're going to need to open a Parsio account. And then we're going to need to open a Zapier account. Okay, so both of these softwares are necessary in order to accomplish the automation. So you're going to go to Parsio. You can just type in parsio.io or just Parsio, and you should get to the main website. And then you're going to sign up. And you can sign up for free. I think you get a certain number of credits for free to test the software out. I think maybe it's like 20. And after that, then you need to check out the pricing. And we'll talk about the pricing here in a little bit. So just follow the steps to get that set up. I think you have to confirm by email. And once you do that, you're good to go. And then the next thing you're going to want to do is go to Zapier. So in this case, you just type in zapier.com. And since I'm logged in, it'll probably take me straight in. But if I log out, and let's say I want to sign up, you just fill in your information here. And I'm not sure if they do a verification of your email or not in order to open your account, but you can just follow the steps on this, and you can also open this up as a free account. Okay, so in this case, I've already got mine in, so I'm going to change this to login. I'm going to go back and select my testing account here. That'll get me back into here. And so I've got Parsio up here. I've got Zapier up here. Okay, so the very first thing we need to do after we get the two accounts set up is to create a mailbox in Parsio. So what Parsio does is it actually takes the PDF document that we're going to forward to it from our email, and it is going to extract or parse out the data from the PDF into fields that we can use to populate QuickBooks Online. All right, so that's the purpose of Parsio. It's a mailbox. All right, so I've already got one set up, but I'm going to show you just how easy it is to create one. So you can create a mailbox, and you have 3 options right now. They're going to have 4 options available pretty soon, and they go from the cheapest, meaning 1 credit, 2 credits, or 5 credits. And right now, our experience in using the template-based parser has been pretty poor. So we have not been using that option. The second option, which is 2 credits, is a GPT-4, so Chat GPT-4 powered parser. That works pretty well. I've been pretty tickled with it. And it works with emails as well as the PDFs. So it's very, very handy. Seems to work pretty well in most situations. And then for just PDF documents that really come in as an invoice or a receipt format, the PDF parser, the more expensive option, works really well as well. So in this case, I'm going to opt for the PDF parser because I think it's going to be the easiest to read the Microsoft invoice that we have in our example. And I'm going to click next. and it's going to ask me what kind of a template do we want to use. In this case, I pretty much just use invoices at this point, and it works pretty well. So I'm just going to leave that selected, but you can select all over here, and I can click on next, and then I need to give it a name. So let's say I want to call this Microsoft 2, and we can ignore the raw data. In this case, I don't think we'll need that, so I'm going to create the mailbox. And now I should have a couple of mailboxes when I'm done. So this is what you're going to see with your creation of the mailbox. It's going to give you the mailbox name, and you can click on this link here to copy it. Okay, so in this case, I've already created one. I'm going to delete this one. I'll show you even how to delete these. You go to settings, and you scroll down to the bottom, and you can delete the mailbox. Confirm that you don't have automatic email forwarding, which we don't. And now it's going to go back to the list of mailboxes, and here's the one that I created. All right. So the next step we need to take is we need to click on the copy to clipboard, and what we need to do is create an auto forward from our email to Parsio. So I'm going to go back to our email, and if you're using Outlook or you're using Gmail, you're using Microsoft 365, you can create rules for emails as they come in and what you want them to do. Okay, so what I'm going to do is right click on the email that I have with my invoice in it, or my bill. And down here, I'll see I have an option in advanced options to create a rule. And I've actually created my rule. So instead of hitting create rule, I'm going to come up, I think, and find rules and manage rules. So you'll see one that I've created. Now, I'm going to click back real quick. I wanted to make sure you look at the subject line of your email and grab or be aware of what words are in it, because this is going to be important in telling the Outlook which email you want to impose the rule on. All right, so let's go back to rules and manage. And so let's look at what we've done so far here. So you can give your Outlook rule a name. In this case, I want SharePoint invoice to QuickBooks Online. You can add conditions, and the from will already be set up, and it will have the email from the sender in it. In this case, that's coming from me, and while that is too broad, I think, to leave as just its own condition, we want to include subject includes. And I have other options I can add here, all kinds of different options, but subject includes SharePoint. Okay, or maybe it needs to be, you could put SharePoint invoice in there. But I'm going to leave it like this. So those are our conditions. So if an email meets these conditions, it's going to do the following actions. So in this case, we want to move it to a folder in Outlook. So I'll explain that in just a moment. The other thing I want it to do is forward to, and you'll see I've put in our Parsio email address. So anytime I get an email from my work email that says SharePoint in it, it's going to follow these actions, where it's going to move to my process folder in email, and it's going to forward that email to Microsoft test.io, or whatever it is, at io.parsio.io. So those are the steps it's going to take. And then the reason we want to move to processed is if I don't move that email, it's going to sit in my inbox, and I won't know whether or not any action has happened regarding that bill. So what we're trying to do is automate our process so you don't even have to look at it. So if we do this, we want to create a subfolder, in which I created a subfolder under my inbox called process, so that it has a place to go. And if I have any questions, I can go back and look in the process folder to see what's in there at that point. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and hit save. And at this point, it's not going to go ahead and take action on this one because it's already been opened. So the very next one it gets that has that criteria, it will send it. All right. So what we're going to do though is we're actually just going to take this document and we're going to download it real quick. And then we're going to attach it. Let's see if I can do this by, let's see if I move this. And I'm going to go to my email box. Oh, no, I'm not going to be able to do that. So give me just a second here. So I'm going to go to mailbox. So you can either forward these straight in or you can drop them in. The best process is going to be you're going to want to email them in. And I've already tested the email process. It's going to work. But in the meantime, for the sake of this video, we're going to import document. And then I'm going to drag this in here. And you'll see it starting to work on it. And you'll look down here and it says new. And it's parsing. And hopefully when it completes, it will say parsed. Okay, so let's take a look at what that information shows. Before we do that, I want to do one more thing. You can go in and you can customize some of this information. One of the things we definitely want to do is click on fields, look at meta fields, and scroll down here till you get to the bottom where it says download URL. So Parsio will not only parse the information, but it will keep a copy of the document that you sent it. And this is going to be important when we create the QuickBooks Online expense. Okay? All right, so now let's go back in, and I want to do one more thing. I want to reparse this so that it pulls in that URL information. Okay, so now if I click on parsed, we'll get a look at the actual document, and we'll see what Parsio has done. It's put a box, a wrapper around each thing that it's found. So invoice date, invoice number, the vendor name, the amount, and it puts all this information out to the side. This is all the information that it has pulled so that you can see that. Now if I scroll to the bottom, we should see the URL, which we want in there too. So this looks good to me, so we can kind of proceed with this. I'm gonna just hit the back button here, and now we're ready to take the next step, which is we want to create our Zapier Zap. So let's go and explain this real quick. Zapier has actions that it takes, and they're called zaps. And in those zaps, we're just going to walk through this. This is usually the easiest way to explain it. So we're going to create the zap, and we need to pick our trigger action. Well, our trigger action is that Parsio received an email and parsed it. All right, so we're going to click on Parsio, or you can type in Parsio. And then we're going to see the Parsio account. We can change that. I'm going to click on that. Let's see here. Oh, sorry. We have to click an event. So we know we're going to use the Parsio trigger. We have that application in here. We click event. And this, what we want to do is document parsed flat tables. All right, let's do that. Hit continue. It's going to ask about our account. So I'm going to click on this and change, and let's click on this again. Okay, give me just a second and I need to reconnect. Okay, and now it should work here. So let's choose an account, and once it's clicked on that, then we tell it what mailbox we want it to look for. That's the trigger. So look at the mailbox. Let's click on that, and it's going to populate this. It'll populate the most recent mailbox that you have. Any recent, well, let me say that it'll be your recent mailbox activity. All right, so that's the one we want. We'll click it, and then we'll hit continue, and then we'll test our trigger to make sure it can see. And what it should do is it should pull information. You'll see we've been playing with this a little bit. So we want the most recent one, which is going to be document C, and you're going to see all the different fields that Parsio created that parsed out of that PDF that we provided it. And at the very bottom, we'll see the PDF attachment, or the URL for that PDF attachment down here. Okay, so that looks good. So we can continue with the selected record, and now we're ready for the next step. So we have all of our fields. Now we're ready to create our QuickBooks entry. All right, and so I'm going to click on QuickBooks Online Premium. So this means we are going to need to have a paid account for Zapier, and we'll talk about the costs associated with that in a moment. But I'm going to click on that, and I need to tell it what kind of an event we're going to have here. What kind of an entry are we going to create in QuickBooks? So in this case, it's going to be pretty easy, but you'll see the different options we have. We can create a bill that's account-based. We can create a bill that's item-based. We've got credit memos. We've got customers' estimates, and here's create expense, which we want to create. I'm going to click on that and hit continue. And now I need to find the account that I'm looking for. Well, I know that I have not added this particular account, I think, to QuickBooks. So we're actually going to walk through the steps of adding the QuickBooks account. So we'll say yes to continue to QuickBooks Online. And yours will be a little bit different. If you're not an accounting firm, you're going to just go in and click your company name. Here I have to click my company name, and then we'll have clients. So we're going to blur all that out. But I got my testing account down here, and I'm going to click next. And there we go. So now I am connected. I can hit continue. All right, so payee type is first field. Typically that's going to be a vendor, and you can look up your vendor name here. More advanced users can end up doing a find feature to find connect the field with the vendor name from Parsio to find that vendor in QuickBooks. But in our case, we know this is specifically for Microsoft, so I'm going to type in Microsoft and see if it has it. And you click on load more until you get what you're looking for. Okay, and there it popped up. All right, so I'll just click on that one, and then we'll do payment type. In this case, it's going to be a credit card charge. It's paid by credit card. And if you have other methods, you can have that in there. That'll be entered from QuickBooks. Those options will come from QuickBooks. So it's already reading information from there. So bank and credit card account. In this case, we're just going to find something here. If we have a credit card in this account, it should. But in this case, let's do checking here. So let's say checking. All right, payment date. So this is where we start to pull the fields from Parsio. So I'm going to click on this, and all these options from the document parsed in Parsio, we can start to pull this information. So what we want to do is find the invoice date, which is right here. Okay, so I'm just going to click on that. It's going to populate the field. All right, payment method. Look at that. Let's say that was let's just say it was credit card. And the reference number. So what I've been trying to do is, since now I'm using this for our firm internally at this point, and a good portion of our activity is going to be credit card, and so I want to know what's been automated versus what's not been automated. So I have a little trick that I use is I use emoji board, put a lightning bolt in front of my reference number so that I know immediately where that was generated from, where that transaction was generated from. Okay, so reference number, let's see what we've got. We've got an invoice ID. That looks like a good option. We'll use that. And the account, so it's going to be probably software. I'm not sure if we have that on here or not. There we go, office supplies and software. Let's click that. So it's pulling that list of expenses from QuickBooks. That's where all that is coming from. So where Microsoft came from, your payment type options, your bank credit card account, all of that is being fed in from the connection, the integration with QuickBooks Online. All right, so the next thing we need to do is a description. So I'm going to do the same thing I did earlier with the lightning bolt, put that in there, and let's see what information we want. I want Microsoft in here, and is there any other information I want? Let me scroll up a little bit more so we can see different options. Is there anything in here that's kind of descriptive of what this bill includes? Okay, so I'm just going to scroll through here and see, is there any section I want? So we could use that. Just going to keep looking here. There we go. This looks pretty helpful. So I'm going to click on this information, and I'm actually going to separate those two fields with a little spacer here. And so this is going to give us a little bit of additional information about my charge here. All right. And then the amount. The amount's important. So let's go see if we can find invoice total amount right here, $5. Okay. And probably don't need to worry about billable status or anything like that. If you're using classes, you can enter classes here. So I'm actually not going to, so I'm going to hit clear. And then there's item details. So what we're doing is an account-based transaction with the credit card charge, not an item-based transaction. So if you're using item-based product services, you're going to want to use this section rather than using the section above that's based on account details. I think for probably 90% of us, we're going to use the account details instead of item details. So in that case, I'm actually going to leave that whole section, item details, alone. I'm not going to enter anything in there, which takes us all the way down to memo. And what we're going to do is we're going to put the URL to download the file, that the PDF URL will allow you to do something pretty cool in QuickBooks. All right, so I'm going to click on that. And I think I am done with the QuickBooks setup. So we're going to hit continue, and then we're going to be able to test our deal. So I'm looking at this here. Well, we'll see what this looks like when we actually get it into QuickBooks. So I'm going to go ahead and test my action, and hopefully it's successful. We'll see a little, here we go. A create expense was sent to QuickBooks Online about 1 second ago. All right, so let's see what that looks like here. So I'm going to bring QuickBooks over. And so what you can do is you can click on the search bar up here, the little search icon. And when you do, just look down, and the latest, most recent transaction is going to pop up, and we're going to see that we have an expense that's been entered. And there's that lightning bolt, so it came from Zapier, and it's for $5. So I'm actually going to open that up so we can see what that looks like completed. So we've got, Microsoft for the payee, what account it came out of, how it was done, the reference number. We've got the category, what expense it was, the description, which is kind of helpful, the amount, and down here you got the memo. All right, so this is what I want to show you. If I highlight that and I click up above and I put this in the search bar, and it just downloaded a copy of that bill. So really super handy to be able to use that while we're creating a transaction inside QuickBooks, how we can automate a transaction in QuickBooks. So when we get done with this, we have tested it, we can then publish that. So you can name this as let's say Microsoft to QBO, and then we publish it. And now that transaction, or that process, that workflow, is fully automated. From the rule, let's see here, in Outlook, we've created a rule in Outlook that's automatically, as soon as it gets an email from Chuck Underwood that includes the word SharePoint in the title, it's going to automatically push a copy of that email into Process, and it's also going to forward to Parsio. Parsio then is going to get the information, and it's going to process that data instantaneously. And then almost instantaneously, once it's complete, Zapier then is going to pick up the workload, and it's going to then fill in those fields into QuickBooks and process that expense. And you don't have to do anything. Okay, so yes, there's some upfront time and investment in putting this together, but the value you get over time can be pretty amazing. So as I said, with us, we have a large number of our expenses. Anything that's hitting our credit card that's routine is going through this process. It's very simple once you get it put together, once you get acclimated to it. So now let's talk about some of the cons associated with it. So some of the cons associated with this process is that you do have to figure out this initial process. You have to acclimate yourself to it. So it can feel a little fumbly at first, and that's okay. It just takes a little bit of time, depending on how techy you are and how much this interests you. I would think you may watch it this far is interested in doing this, and probably can figure this out. The other side of this is a con for this, or a negative, would be the expense side. Okay, so depending on the number of transactions you're going to have, the number of zaps that you create, any premium applications, means you're going to have to pay a cost not only for Zapier, but for Parsio as well. So in this case right now, we're on a professional trial plan, which allowed us to set this up. So the trial ends on July 31st. This is July 18th, so 2 weeks. And so we can test this all we want, but I think you're limited to 10 or 20. I think we're limited actually to a handful of zaps on a free account And on the lowest level account is $49 a month. Let's look at what our options here. I don't know if I click on this if it'll tell us everything. Yeah, so you got a couple options here. We can do pay annually or pay monthly, but those aren't the full list of options we have here. So I'm going to type in Zapier.com. Actually, let's just log out and look at pricing. Okay, so you can see you have a pretty broad range of pricing. $20 a month will get you 5 zaps, single step, but no premium app. So in what we're talking about, you do have a premium app that you're using. That's QuickBooks Online. So you really need to have at least a professional account. So that's $49 a month if you billed annually. So you're going to get paid. You're going to be billed $600 when you do that. But it also gives you up to 2,000 tasks per month. Okay, so that seems like a lot, but let's keep going here and see what else other costs you might incur in this. So let's go over to Parsio, and I'm going to sign out of there. And what I want to do is go to pricing there. Okay. So then you have, with them, you have your sandbox, which is 30 credits a month. So if you only have a handful of these that you want to do, that's fine. What I have found is the value that we receive is the number, the quantity of transactions that we can process. So we're at least right now we're on this $41 a month plan. So it allows us to have up to 1,000 parsed emails, PDFs, or documents. So basically these are credits. So if you remember the PDF parsed one that's kind of automatic, that's 5 credits each time that one of those runs. So there's some retention things. There's all kinds of other features associated with it. But so let's just say for the sake of argument, you're doing $41 a month. So that's on the annual plan, I believe. No, I think they pay that monthly. Nope, annually. There it is right there. So if you pay it monthly, it's $49. But let's say you do it on an annual plan, you're paying $480, $600. So you're talking about $1,100, let's say, for the year. But that might keep you at a place where you can continue to kind of maintain your own books without necessarily bringing somebody in to help you. And once you start bringing in either a hired person or you do outsourcing, you're going to eclipse $1,100 a year real quick. So just keep that in mind. But those are definitely some negatives associated with it. The other thing is things do break. You can have some issues with the connections at times. Sometimes the application inside Zapier, so QuickBooks, can maybe get disconnected from Zapier. I'll say that hasn't happened in all the work that we've done so far, but some of the other applications it does happen. Microsoft SharePoint, for example, tends to be a little bit flaky, and we have a few issues with that. And you kind of know, as far as an entrepreneur or business owner, if you do not really have an understanding of accounting and the categorizations that you should have, the expenses, what's an expense, what's an asset, how do you do that? Just trying to figure that part out could be challenging and could just maybe exacerbate any accounting issues that you may already have. Well, let's talk about the pros again real quick here. To me, it's cheaper than hiring somebody to do this work for you. It can be virtually no touch once you get it created. You can link to documents included in your memo field. We saw how that was in QuickBooks. So you have immediate access to those documents when you need them. You don't have to go to a folder in a file cabinet to find it. You don't have to search on your desk. That information is digitized and available to you at any time. Let's see. Again, you can use these. You can use the setup to do detailed bills, invoicing, which I'm not sure why we'd want to do invoicing through here, since QuickBooks has a pretty good process built in terms of distributing email and electronic transmission, that kind of thing. But you can do bills, detailed bills, credit memos, and so on. Quite a few things. And I think the other nice thing about it is you can become digitized, so you can really radically reduce the amount of paper that you have in your office. I think that's a pretty exciting thing. So that's it. So if you found this information helpful, I'd sure like to hear. I'm excited about this. I think with the advent of AI and the implementation of some different tools associated with that, into products like Parsio and into products like Zapier, I think we're going to see this automation piece really start to ramp up, and I think really become helpful to business owners across the United States. And I'm excited to see what we've got going, what's cooking here. And if you're interested in learning more about how to do this, or if you want some help in actually setting your system up, I'd sure be happy to help you with that. So you just click on the link with the video, and I'd be more than happy to help and assist you in any way I can. So hope you have a great day. Thanks.